Hello, Channel Automation podcast listeners. Welcome back to another deep dive into the techniques that convert leads. I'm your host, KC Urias, and today I am joined by Dean Iwaoka, Head of Growth at Athenic AI. And from my understanding, Athenic lets you kind of ask questions and then it finds the answers that you're looking for through the data that you uploaded, right? Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thanks, Casey, for inviting me onto the show. So Athenic AI is at its core natural language to SQL. And so we connect to your databases and allow you to just simply ask a question in, natural language. So in most of our cases, English. And then our system takes that question, converts it into SQL. So that's like the AI doing its thing. And then runs that query against your database and then returns the answers to you. And then we also have additional features, so we can provide like suggested questions as follow-ups and other things to help you on your analysis journey.
That's super cool. And so in less technical terms, I would say it's sort of like it's like if you have all of your data on like maybe an Excel, or is there like other documents that you look on, you put it all into your system, and then you can say something like, hey, what are all of the what's the results for this source? Like, how many things did we sell from this source? Or can you organize by like highest to lowest volume of leads coming in, something like that?
Absolutely. Yep. So we deal with data sources from, like you said, like a single Google sheet maybe, or a CSV file, all the way up to Snowflake, which is a large data warehouse, and can have terabytes of data in it. And what we enable you to do is like very quickly, almost as if you're typing something into Google search, you're able to get answers as if Google. It's not Google, but it's as if Google was searching your database for the answers. So it's really cool, and it feels, even to me, still feels very futuristic. And it's just a whole new way of engaging with data. That's not like looking at a dashboard or looking at a report or trying to build a pivot table or something, And we, for example, we've been working on a lot of blog posts within Athenic. And, I don't know if you've used Google Analytics very much, but it's kind of a pain. And I've been trying to like understand, okay, which blog posts are driving the most traffic to our site. And with Athenic, I can, in a matter of seconds, like get an answer and actually see, broken out by blog post, like a number of unique visitors I'm getting per day or per week, or whatever time frame you want to look at. And then I'm also seeing the number of people who go on to do a sign up from those blog posts. And so I'm able to very quickly be like, oh, wow, looks like we're getting a lot of signups from, the State of Marketing Analytics 2024 blog post. I'm going to go do more blog posts like that. And so what I like about it is it's really actionable, the insights we're getting out of the platform.
That's awesome. And I love that you use blog posts as an example because, somebody in marketing, it's like, it's so hard to figure out like what concepts and what efforts that you're doing across platforms, especially when you're on, like all different social medias and you're also doing like, stuff on your personal website. It's hard to get it all in one place. So do you also like show like graphs, like visuals, or is it just kind of all listed out like Google Analytics?
So we can do both like a tabular, like table format, and then we can also do graphics as well. So charts and graphs, and we are will allow you to save those those graphs and those tables to a dashboard, so that you can, just simply by asking a bunch of questions, and maybe let's say it takes 5 minutes, you can build a complete dashboard of graphs and tables. That you can share with like other folks on your team, or you can set it up to have like a weekly report that gets emailed to you. So it's meant to be super useful and really actionable, right? Like we want to get the insights to you in whatever format or whatever time frame is best for you. We want that to be really easy.
And for those of you who are listening and you are reviewing analytics, or you're just kind of dipping your toes into analytics viewing, I know that like with other companies that we've worked with, they're like, yeah, we take a look at it every month, or we take a look at it every quarter and see where we're at. I'm here to tell you now that these kind of programs like Athenic and like what we have on channel automation with our analytics dashboard, having it in real time and viewing it every single week or bi-weekly is so much better in terms of being able to change the trajectory of your success. And it doesn't take that much effort as long as you're able to look at it quickly and understand without, having to do the pivot tables and, like you said, having to parse through Google Analytics. Stuff like this makes it so much easier just to get through it and say, okay, I can see that this campaign is successful. Let's use our time to analyze why, rather than going back and asking, okay, where did this start? Where did this end? What platform does this go to? It's a lot less mismatching that you have to do and try to like fill up that whole quarter rather than just doing it week to week. So to ask you another question, how do you know, how does like your AI know where to look for the information? Like, how do you even lay out those data pieces?
Yeah, it's a good question. So our AI is really clever, and what it can do is it scans when you upload a new data source. It immediately scans the names of all the columns that you have in that data source, so that it understands. Okay, like let's say I upload like a CRM database, and like my HubSpot or maybe it's Salesforce, and I am seeing, okay, I have all these different leads, kind of in these different stages, and these are like the opportunity sizes by revenue, or for different revenue, like by month and maybe by salesperson, whatever it is. The AI begins to make like an understanding of your data schema that you're going to be working with. And so you don't have to do anything. It's happening. This is all happening automatically. And then when you go to ask questions, similar to when you like hire somebody new to join the company, maybe they're working on some like analytics for you, you need to tell them a little bit about the business, right? Like you don't just hire somebody and then say like, okay, like go tell me insightful things. You're going to say like,
Ideally.
no, like, okay, ideally, right? Yeah. So you're going to say like, oh, like we made fabulous cat t-shirts and our customers, yeah, exactly. Our customers, they live all over the world and we ship all over. And we have like 5 different types of t-shirts. And when we sell, we actually, let's say it's like some sort of weird like subscription service. So people are not just buying one cat t-shirt, they're buying cat t-shirts for life. And so you can give that kind of context to the AI simply by writing it in English, saying like, okay, when I'm talking about our cat t-shirts, you can just like literally write in cat t-shirts. Then in the description, you can just quickly add like cat t-shirts are a subscription product that are purchased and paid monthly, and for like the duration of the subscription. And that way the AI knows that that this is actually a subscription product. And it's the same as, telling a new team member that's like, hey, actually we sell t-shirts, but we are actually, it's a subscription service, not a like kind of, point in time or single purchase situation. So that kind of context is what I think makes our product so interesting, is that you're building up like an organizational understanding for the AI, so that it's able to crawl your data and actually return exactly what you're looking for, and be able to recommend additional things for you to investigate, which I just think is so powerful, right?
I was
Like
about to
that's
say, isn't it like amazing where we're at right now? It's so cool. And somebody's gonna listen to
I-
this like 10 years from now and be like, okay, yeah, obviously. But
yeah,
right
isn't
now
that
this is
quaint?
so exciting.
And one thing I do want to add from something you mentioned earlier around marketers, having to deal with data kind of across everywhere. We actually just ran a survey where we were polling elite marketing teams, and what we found was that most teams are spending, potentially up to 35 hours a month, if not more, on just analytics, and that's like pulling the data and then analyzing the data. And a lot of these teams, they're looking at their campaign performance weekly, if not daily. And that's a lot of time to be spending on analytics, and spending on like kind of the back end, less sexy stuff of just organizing the different bits of data so that it gets into a format that you can then actually mine for insights. So, you're talking about kind of best practices within the marketing space. Definitely, you want to be looking at that data in as real time as possible so that you can react to market trends and things that are happening with your customers or prospective customers, and be agile, right? I think that's the key.
And as somebody who has been in my past life, that person who is constantly every day looking and analyzing every single week and just pivot table, mostly, going crazy with it and then presenting to, higher up stakeholders, business owners and stuff, it is a big time suck. And that's also part of the reason why we have the AI now in channel automation as well. Not the same AI that we're talking about for Athenic, but similarly, rather than having to spend a lot of time building things from scratch, you can ask our AI, hey, can you go ahead and make this flow for me? My purpose is to ask for reviews, or yeah, this flow is so that way we can follow up on somebody that we haven't heard from for a while. And then you're going to be using like the last time you talked to them, like look at that date, wait 24 hours and then talk to them. And that's what's so awesome about the new AI and chat GPT and all of these new systems coming out, is being able to not replace your team, but empower your team to use the technology to save themselves time and get creative with training. And I do say training because it's just like what you were mentioning earlier. You're like, this is what I want to look for. You're going to be checking here to, for the cat t-shirts, I want you to know this is a subscription service. So if somebody says, hey, can I buy one shirt? You could say, this is what you're supposed to answer. Like you could subscribe, your first shirt free or whatever. And it's cool because, as an industry expert, you are not being replaced by AI. You are the one that gives the AI the information. And
Yeah, and what we're seeing in the market is, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I'm just excited.
go for it.
What we're seeing in the market is that the companies that have really figured out that point that you just mentioned, it's a little bit nuanced, but it's so important, is that these AI tools are really productivity tools. And the companies that have figured that out and have like dived in headfirst and said like, okay, how are we going to harness this new power? Not to replace staff and reduce headcount, but to make our existing staff so much more effective with their time, and get them to spend time on the things that humans are so good at, right? And especially with all the context these people have about their businesses, their customers, AI doesn't have any of that. It can't replace that. But what it can do is allow the same individual to do so much more. So, in my world with analytics, it's like the same marketer can analyze and come up with real meaningful insights around how they're going to adapt their email campaigns or, their event follow-up nurture series or whatever, the blog posts. And they could do that, 10x faster than what they've been able to do previously. And so just think of the implications of what that means for these businesses. And I think not to get a little like doom and gloom, but like the scary thing is for the businesses who haven't figured this out, like this is your clarion call. Like you need to get on board with at least testing out these different solutions, because the gap between kind of like the early adopters, the nimble, innovative organizations and the kind of more staid traditionalist organizations, like it's just going to grow, and it's going to be an exponential growth in the coming years as AI continues to be incorporated into many more products and functions and whatnot in our daily workflow.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. And that's actually when I said and you started talking, you basically just filled in exactly what I was going to say. So it works out wonderful.
I stole your thunder.
No, don't worry. I got plenty of thunder left in me. So going back a little bit,
Yeah.
when you start with new clients, you were talking about like if you aren't on board right now, jumping into AI, you're going to get left behind. When you start working with new people where AI is new to them, I mean, it is still pretty new right now. What do you normally see with their data organization? Like where's the starting point typically?
Yeah, so we see a lot of kind of like, and this was not surprising, of course, but a lot of organizations are set up around like there's tribal knowledge, where like one maybe a couple people on the team, they are kind of tasked with like being like the data shepherds, right? And everyone, all the data questions flow through those couple people, and in some cases like a singular person, and that creates a lot of organizational bottlenecks because people, they're if they need to make a decision and they know, like, there's some information that they could use to make that decision, but it's going to take them like a week and a half to go, like, make the request to the data person, the data expert. That person's going to go, like, do an initial look, come back with some things to talk about. They're going to iterate. They're going to go back and do more research and then come back. By the time you get that answer, you probably already made your decision, right? People are going to take the path of least resistance. And so what we're seeing in a lot of these organizations is this is like a relearning of how to incorporate, like how to do these work streams and how to be data driven, because you don't have to wait a week and a half to get an answer. You could get an answer in like 15 seconds, like potentially 7 if like on a good day, like our system's very quick. And so if you could ask the question, in the middle of all the different things, I'm sure we all have multiple monitors and we're all doing a lot of things all at once. You just have your Athenic window open, or channel automation window open with Athenic embedded, and you just ask your question, get your answer. Like, okay, great. Now I know that, our lead volumes have dropped coming out of California. So I need to go investigate that, for my email campaigns. Like whatever it is, it's like getting those actionable insights is just so key. So what we see with organizations that are just getting started is it's this whole like rebuilding of what work streams look like, and many more types of resources and departments outside of that traditional kind of like that I'm calling the data shepherds folks, like, are now empowered to actually be able to answer their own questions. And what we're seeing is that many of these other functional areas, like, people have great questions. Like, they know the questions to ask. They just never really been able to ask them before in real time to be able to make decisions. And I think that is, again, the organizations that are very forward leaning, they have a huge advantage here, because going back to this productivity point, like, their people can be so much more productive in their everyday tasks across the organization, right? It's not just centered on marketing. Although marketers, we're typically early adopters, so just gonna get that for us.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, marketing doesn't get compliments that often, so I'm not going to stop you from doing it. Usually, like, we're the first people who's like, "Hey, why aren't there more people coming in?" And it's like, we need some kind of we need something to make something. That's how a lot of it works. And I love that you're calling them data shepherds, by the way, because I've been referring to it as the old men that sit by the trough in like the old Western towns. And it's like any newcomer that comes in, they're like, well, let me tell you how this town is founded. Data shepherds are a little...
Let me tell you about this data schema.
Yeah. It's a little bit more flattering the way that you're calling data shepherds. It's cool. And also, those data shepherds then don't get bogged down by having to answer the same thing over and over and over again, or training the same people over and over and over again, because they are also often the people who are experts in doing one or two particular tasks that nobody else can do. And then they can focus on their work. And then the other guys can utilize what they've programmed or talked about to the AI.
Absolutely.
And by the way, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think you're exactly right. The data shepherds, like, a lot of times they were not hired with the promise of like, you're going to get to answer all the organization's data questions. Like, no one, like, very few people want that job. And if you're out there and you like that, wonderful. But for most of us, like, that's very unappealing. And so letting these people get back to kind of like their core competencies and what they were brought in to really do. I mean, one, that's motivating for sure for the individual, but also it kind of sets off this flywheel of productivity, because it's like, let's say they were brought in to like help kind of restructure the data schemas to make it more efficient, to like incorporate more data streams. It's like, that's wonderful, because if they spend their time doing that and you have, a platform like Athenic sitting on top of those organized data schemas, then you have more data that's more structured for more people to be able to access. And because there's essentially no learning curve to use natural language to query data, like everyone in the organization is that much more empowered. So, you could see how, it sets off this flywheel of success here very quickly. Sorry, you were going to say something else.
I don't know what it was, but it was something along the same lines. But it's one of those things where if you have ever talked to data analysts, number one, bless your heart. Number two, they aren't necessarily both the best communicators and also experts at their jobs necessarily. There are some people who are super awesome communicators that are also data analysts, but they are not IT. And I want to just kind of put that out there. I'm not going to rant about it, but just because you're good at computers doesn't necessarily mean like you're the IT person. And so having AI act as that is very helpful for those individuals. And also, going off of what we were talking about before with Athenic, bridging the gap with analyzing data, and then also any kind of AI, just like what we have in channel automation, where you can sort of ask questions and have your system tell your agents or tell the people who are inquiring about industry expert, that's just kind of regurgitating what you've already taught it. One thing that AI still cannot do is say, so based on this data, these are the actions that we need to take. And that's what we want to have, open for these guys. So we're taking the automation of the AI and we're like, okay, the AI is taking care of feeding me like this is everything that you need to know about this subject. However, it's not going to say what you need to do with that information. And that's why people are so key, not only knowing how to train the AI, but also being able to take that information and then say, and this is where we go from here. So AI is such a good tool, and we're very excited to be working with it. And this is why exactly you were invited to the show, because we wanted to chat about our new AI bits and chat about your AI bits, so that way we can get everybody on board with it quickly and start getting people excited about it.
Oh, it's just I think that's right, and I think that there's a lot of trepidation out there that people they just don't really understand fully what AI is capable of, and this is kind of going back to like, is AI taking my job or replacing me? It comes back to what I was saying earlier around it's really like a productivity tool. It's like, imagine back, I think it was in the 80s, when suddenly, everyone in business offices like had calculators on their desks for the first time. And it's like that moment of, wow, I don't have to spend so much time doing computations. I can do it in, seconds. This is kind of the same thing. I think it's a little more impressive than calculators, but
we're not trying to one-up calculators over here.
Yeah. I'm sorry, TI-89. I think it's really, people should be thinking about it as a tool, and a tool that's tuned to specific functions. So our Athenic obviously geared towards data. You were talking about some channel automation AI features that help you with automations for marketing and lead gen work, and then there's AI for content generation. There's all sorts of things, and these organizations, us included, have like really started to fine tune. Okay, how are you making it so easy for people to be able to do XYZ, enabled, powered by AI?
So here's the last question that people are asking about AI. Can you trust AI to give you the right answers? Because if you're the one that's programming it and it's making inferences on the programming, how do you know that it's giving you the right inferences?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And I think something that is absolutely like the right question to be asking. And so the way we built Athenic is with this very much front and center. It's like, how do we prevent hallucinations? Well, the honest answer is you cannot prevent hallucinations in AI. In its current, kind of maturity, large language models, they're going to hallucinate. So you have to know that. But we've taken some, I think, pretty interesting steps that seem so basic now that I'm going to say them, but are just so important. So every query that you ask Athenic, it returns the data that you were asking for, but it also returns explanation about that data. So it says how it went about getting that data based on your initial question that you asked. And it's in English. It's very easy to read. And if you said like, show me my sales this year compared to last year. Okay, so Athenic is going to go in and it's going to pull out those sales numbers, that revenue number for last year compared to this year, and it's going to give you some sort of explanation where it explains that, okay, I went in, I looked at the revenue tables, I filtered for only close won deals for last year and for this year, and then I aggregated those and I put them two columns, and 2022, 2023. And that's how I got this poll, or like got this conclusion. And I think it's that explanation that's so important, because again, for many folks, never trained in data analytics, right? Like we just kind of figured it out. You did what you needed to do to get through. And so here is another way where we are helping guide the users on their analytics journey. So the AI, similar to a human analyst, is saying like, hey, this is how I went. You asked for this. This is what I did to get this data. And if something doesn't seem right to you, you can flag it as a problem or for more review. So, another human can actually review it and make sure that it's the correct data. And it also alerts the AI that's like, hey, actually, this isn't quite what I was looking for whatever reason.
Yeah, maybe it's like you checked all of the sales that are positive on here, but you also didn't cross-check finance decline, and all the finance decline ones are the ones that aren't included in the sales total.
Exactly. Or whatever the nuance is for your business, right? And this is where that AI training piece that I talked about very early is so important too, to help build trust with people, and that the AI really does understand their business. I use the word understand a little loosely here, but you know what I'm saying. It has the context to be able to answer the question accurately. And I think that's the important part. So, really in summary, we tried to build in tools that help build trust with the user, that the accuracy of the answers is where it needs to be. And, when we're doing any kind of implementation, like there is a period of time where we are actually doing some, human review of the first, 50 questions that are being asked to make sure that the accuracy is there. And in most cases it is. And with the tuning of the AI, you get above 95% very quickly, which is, at human level, if not better, in a matter of days, which is fantastic.
It's extremely impressive. And I love that you mentioned that it's at human level. A lot of people, when they start implementing AI, they are like, well, it shouldn't be making any mistakes at all because it's a computer. It is something that you're going to continuously having to fine tune. And sometimes it is going to return wrong answers. And that's something that anybody that signs up with AI should be communicating to you. One of the things that I've mentioned in some of our AI videos, we're going to have a whole series of AI videos that we're going to be releasing coming up, is being able to parse through the AI noise, because there's going to be a lot of companies right now that are coming out with AI solutions that are just going to be a waste of your time and money. I say it's a modern take on your waste of time and money, because some people just don't know how to utilize AI in a way that makes sense. If people are saying, have at it, this is going to solve your problem, and they're not communicating, just like Dean is talking about here, about like, this is a potential issue that you can run into. This is the way that you need to phrase things. Let's go through like 50 to 100 questions, check it over with a live human, and make sure that it's accurate as possible to answer for your business. If somebody is not saying that to you when you're trying to look for AI solutions, that should be a red flag. That's something that you really should be keeping an eye on when you're trying to figure out, like, what do you want to go with for an AI solution?
And I'll yes and you a little bit here. We in our report, which I've wrapped a couple times now, the State of Marketing Analytics 2024. The last 2 pages are an evaluation guide that we put together for evaluating other AI products. And so there's a set of questions that you can ask or you should be asking when you're looking at different products. We think we score very high those questions, but I think you could use this evaluation tool on lots of different AI products out there. And it really helps you think about like, okay, is this saving me time? It's like, what's the learning curve to use this product? Things like that may or may not be as obvious, because like the last thing that anyone wants is like another SaaS platform that they have to learn how to use, right? So I just think that having some guidelines, or guidelines is the wrong word, like a scorecard of sorts, it's just really useful when you're doing this kinds of evaluations. And we have a lot of experts on AI on our side, and so we put that, kind of took all like their ideas and put them together in this little PDF so that you can think about it as you're evaluating whether it's our solution or others. So definitely feel free to check it out, and shoot us a message. Like, we're happy to help you think through some of these things, because sometimes there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the industry right now. So,
and by the way, I am going to be putting together in the description, make sure to take a look on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you happen to be listening to our podcast today or watching the video, although you won't be able to see our cool cat t-shirts if you are listening on a non-video platform. I'm going to be putting all of the contact information in the description, so make sure that if this sounds interesting to you, to give Athenic and Dean let them know. Say, hey, give me some more information. Just hit them up and ask some questions. And that's going to be it for us today. And we would like you to hit us up and ask us questions too. So whether you loved or hate what we talked about today, we do want to hear from you. You can comment or you can shoot us an email at hello@channelautomation.com. Also, please consider subscribing to this podcast and getting tips and tricks on marketing. Like I said, we're going to be having a whole series on AI videos coming up. And so it's going to be educating you on what to look for and how to apply it to your call center and your marketing techniques, so it's something to get excited about. As always, make sure to keep your lead conversion high.